From the KATC Weather Lab, here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back. We'll get ready for a tropical storm, perhaps hurricane conditions. That's why we have a hurricane watch. Right now, tropical storm warnings posted. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a bit. First off, let's put the radar satellite composite in motion. All about Isaac and watching this storm as it slowly churns through the Gulf of Mexico, going over the very warm waters of the Gulf Loop current. But Isaac not overly organized. We'll show you that on the infrared imagery coming up in just a bit. But you can see the squally showers affecting the Florida coast all the way down through southeastern portions of Florida. Some of the heavier squalls advanced offshore, but issues continue for our friends off to the east. Meanwhile, the system slowly turns to the northwest, and we can see those high clouds dulling the sun late this afternoon. That's the beginning of the storm. And also, as we indicated yesterday, usually you really squelch any shower activity, and that's what we've seen today. It's very dry across the area. Few scattered showers back to the north and west of us. But it's all going to be about Isaac, and here are the latest watches and warning status. We continue to have hurricane warnings in effect. Morgan City on eastward, including New Orleans, and off to the east. Now, much of Acadiana under a tropical storm warning. Then you get to Acadia Parish and into Evangeline Parish on westward, just a tropical storm watch. But in that tropical storm warning area, also a hurricane watch, and that's for Lafayette, St. Martin, Vermilion, and Iberia, and St. Mary parishes. That means if there's a subtle change in the track on this system, hurricane conditions could be possible in the next 36 hours. Tropical storm warning means tropical storm conditions likely within the next 24 to 36 hours. And we're going to talk more about what that means coming up in just a bit. First off, satellite imagery of Isaac, rather disorganized. We have our center of circulation roughly about here, but notice all the deep convection, the coldest cloud tops on the western and southwestern flank of this system. There is drier air trying to wrap around it, and that's probably keeping this system from becoming a hurricane, although pressure dropped throughout the afternoon, and it is very close to becoming a hurricane right now with 70-mile-per-hour winds, gusts to 85, and some of these stronger squalls to the west and southwest, moving to the northwest at 12. So that's a little bit slower, so that still gives us another full day, day and a half of being out in the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico. So a strengthening trend remains in the forecast per the National Hurricane Center, with a Category 2 storm approaching southeastern Louisiana late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, and then working its way across the New Orleans area, just east of perhaps Baton Rouge, and then off to the northwest from there. But the signs show us that this may be slowing down after landfall, so that's going to make it very difficult to forecast exactly the type of weather, how much rainfall. Right now, we don't think there's going to be a storm surge issue, but that's going to be with along and east of the highest winds. So over eastern Louisiana, then into Mississippi and Alabama. These are the radius of tropical storm and hurricane force winds. And notice by tomorrow afternoon, winds will be in the 35-mile-per-hour range or higher across much of Acadiana, lower to the west, and then your damaging winds better than 58, and then your hurricane force winds over southeast Louisiana, and then that moves through the New Orleans area. So hurricane conditions likely for the New Orleans metroplex, maybe damaging winds into the Baton Rouge area. But again, if we change this forecast track 30 or 40 miles this way, we're much more involved with the storm. If it goes a little bit off to the east, we're going to be on the much better side of things. But nonetheless, tropical storm conditions will likely continue through much of the day Wednesday with those squalls spreading out. So this is just showing wind field. This is not showing the tropical squalls. And then the system gradually weakens as we go into Thursday. But it's going to stay windy, we think, at least through Thursday morning. Here's the Euro model indicating pretty much going with the National Hurricane Center. But again, notice the system slows down. Here comes the flooding rains. Baton Rouge, New Orleans on eastward. We're on the edge of the disaster, and then the system slowly moves northward as we get into Thursday. But again, still the risk of tropical squalls at least through Thursday, then things quiet down thereafter. Now, the American GFS model also indicating much the same. This is the 18Z run, so I'm seeing this just with you, but it continues on this trend of maybe a little bit more of a western trend. So again, we're in the mix, but notice the model is coming in with the National Hurricane Center guidance. But the bottom line, be prepared for the possibility of hurricane force conditions across the area. Hopefully we don't see that, but we're going to see tropical storm conditions, and we're going to kind of lay that out for you coming up right now. So here we go with the tropical threat index. Risk of tropical storm winds way up there, of course. Risk of a hurricane, low to moderate. I'm erring on the side of caution right here. Flooding, not going to be a major issue if that track goes to the east of us, but that could change in a hurry. Storm surge, not a concern. Water's going to come 2 to 4 along the coast, but is going to be much higher, 10 to 15 feet as you go east of the storm. But if the storm path would change, then these numbers would change, and there will be a tornado threat. I think that's going to occur mainly on Wednesday. And here's the timeline. Winds begin to pick up tomorrow afternoon and will be on the high side, anywhere between 30 and 55-mile-per-hour winds, lower to the west, higher to the east. Gusts to 70 in the tropical squalls on Wednesday. The squalls will kick in tomorrow night mainly, and those are the organized rain bands that produce the gusty winds and possibly damaging winds. Power outages, well, maybe late tomorrow night through Wednesday. We'll say sporadic for Acadiana, maybe scattered. That means, what does that mean? 20–30% of us losing power perhaps in the latter part of the afternoon. And rain, we're not even going to comment on that right now. And again, there will be a tornado threat down the road. This is the way we're going to lay it out on the 8-day forecast. Obviously, watching Isaac with tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches. And again, I'd love to be more succinct about the conditions that we're going to see locally here. But beyond 24 hours to 36 hours, the average error on the forecast track is between 50 and 75 miles, and that's going to make a big difference on what we're going to see. We have a lopsided storm, so there could be a surprise waiting for us by tomorrow morning with maybe a more westward track. And it does have Category 2 hurricane potential. So if it gets its act together tonight or overnight tonight through tomorrow morning, then we may be looking at something more different. Bottom line, prepare for a tropical storm and take in the garbage pails, anything that's going to fly around, and be prepared to be without power for a few hours, if not more in some spots.
All righty. Thank you, Rob.